The space station floated quietly above a dusty planet, its lights blinking like stars in the dark sky. Inside the medical wing, deep in the lower levels, an alien girl sat alone on a cold bed. Her name was Zelari, and her wings, once strong and beautiful, now hung broken behind her back. She was not like other aliens on the station anymore. The accident had changed everything. One crash, one bad fall, and her wings were useless. They said the nerves were dead, the bones too damaged, and that she would never fly again. No one came to visit her, not even her own family. Doctors walked past her like she was just a shadow. Some whispered that it was a waste of time to try to help her. Others believed she should be sent back to her homeworld, where the disabled were often forgotten. But Zelari stayed quiet. She didn't cry, not anymore. She had cried for weeks after the accident, till her throat hurt and her tears dried up. Now she just stared out the small window, watching ships come and go, hoping for nothing. That's when the human arrived. Dr. Mason Hale stepped onto the station with a heavy bag and tired eyes. He was sent from Earth to help with a virus outbreak in the outer sectors of the station. He wasn't famous, he wasn't rich, but he was known for one thing he never gave. Up on a patient, as he walked through the halls of the medical bay, he noticed her. Unlike the others, he didn't look away. He paused at her door, scanned her chart, and frowned. No treatment. He asked the nearby nurse. "She's hopeless." The nurse replied, "Nothing works. She can't fly, she never will." Dr. Mason didn't speak. He stepped into the room, looked at Zelari, and gave a small smile. "Mind if I sit?" he asked. Zelari blinked, confused. No one had asked her that in weeks. She nodded slowly. He sat beside her and looked at her wings, not with disgust, not with pity, but with curiosity. He gently touched the edge of her left wing, and she flinched, still. "Some feeling there," he said quietly. "That's something." Zelari looked at him, surprised. "You felt that?" He asked again. "Yes," she whispered, her voice soft. "That's good news," he said, leaning back. "Who told you it was impossible?" Zelari didn't answer. She wasn't sure if it was the doctors, her people, or herself who gave. Up first, Dr. Mason stood and adjusted his bag. "I want to try something," he said. "Only if you're okay with it." She hesitated, then nodded. That small moment changed her life. Over the next few days, Dr. Mason returned again and again. He ran tests, simple ones at first, touching parts of her wings, checking for reactions. Then more advanced ones, scans, pressure points, muscle response. He talked to her too, not just about her injury, but about her life, what she liked, what she missed. "I used to race through the skies," she told him one day, "faster than anyone in my class." "Then maybe you'll fly again," he replied. She laughed, not because it was funny, but because no one had said that to her since the accident. Every time he came back, she felt a little less invisible, a little more alive. Other doctors began to talk behind his back. They said he was wasting his time, risking his job, but he didn't care. One night, as he checked her wings again, he gently pressed near the base, and she gasped. "What is it?" he asked quickly. I felt something," she said, her eyes wide. "There, like a small spark." Mason smiled, a real, warm smile. "That means there's still life in those nerves," he said. "We can work with that. Hope." Like a tiny flame lit inside her chest. He gave her simple exercise, since stretching, light movement. She tried, failed, tried again. Her muscles were weak, her wings heavy. But for the first time, she had a reason to fight. Sometimes he stayed longer just to talk. He told her about Earth, about his first time in space, about how he hated hospital food. She laughed more around him, and something new began to grow in her chest, strange warmth when he looked at her. When he smiled, when he said her name. She didn't understand it fully, but it felt good. And for the first time since her fall, Zellari looked out that window and didn't feel broken. Because maybe, just maybe, someone still believed in her. Doctor. Mason came early the next morning, carrying a small silver case with him. He looked tired. Like he hadn't slept much, but his eyes were focused. Zellari was already sitting up when he walked in. Her wings gently folded behind her, weak, but no longer lifeless. She gave him a small smile, not sure what to say. No one had ever come for her 2 days in a row before. Not even the nurse's doctor. Mason pulled a chair close and opened the case on the table beside her. Inside were soft pads, wires, and a few blinking devices she didn't recognize. "Don't be scared," he said softly. "This won't hurt. I just want to test something." Zellari watched as he attached the small pads to different points on her wings. Each one gave a light buzz. Like static from a communicator, she didn't. "Flinch this time. Try to move this part," he said. Pointing to the joint near the top of her wing, she closed her eyes, focused. It was like trying to move something she couldn't even feel. But slowly, the muscles twitched. Mason leaned forward, his eyes lit up. "There," he whispered. "You see that? That's reaction. That's strength." Zellari opened her eyes and stared at her wing. It had moved just a little, but it moved. She let out a shaky breath. "I thought it was dead." She said, "It's healing." Mason replied, "Your body remembers how to move. We just need to wake it up." Each day after that, they worked together in secret. The main doctors didn't approve. So Mason asked her to come quietly after the evening shift. He brought portable machines, massage tools, special creams from Earth. Sometimes the treatments made her tired, and she would fall asleep in the chair while he cleaned up the tools once. She woke up with a warm blanket over her and a cup of heated broth beside her. It was strange how quickly she felt safe with him. His voice, his hands, his quiet patience. It was different from everyone else. He didn't see her as broken. He saw her as possible. One evening, while he was checking the nerves again, his fingers brushed against a sensitive part near the base of her wings. Her breath caught, not from pain, but from something she didn't understand. He noticed and froze. "Are you all right?" he asked, pulling back quickly. She looked away, her cheeks warm. "Yes," she said quietly. "It just felt new." He nodded, then cleared his throat and returned to the treatment. But something had changed. That night, she didn't sleep. She kept thinking about his hands, his voice, the way he looked at her wings like they were something important. Not just bones and skin, but something worth saving. For the first time, she felt confused, not about her wings, but about her heart. Dr. Mason was careful the next day. He kept the conversation light, but his eyes watched her with quiet thoughtfulness. She asked him about Earth again. He told her about clouds, oceans, and birds, creatures that flew with feathers instead of bone wings. She tried to imagine it, but it felt like a dream. "Do you miss it?" she asked suddenly. He was silent for a moment, then smiled. "Sometimes," he said, "but I think I'm needed here more." Zellari looked down at her hands. "I'm glad you came," she whispered. He nodded. "Me too." That evening, her wings responded more than ever before. One full flap, slow, uneven, but powerful. She gasped. Almost falling off the chair, Mason caught her, his arms strong around her waist. "You did it," he said, laughing softly. "You actually did." She held on to him, breathing hard, and for a moment she didn't want to let go. But they heard footsteps in the hall, voices approaching. He quickly helped her back to the bed, removed the pads, and closed the case. The door slid open, and a senior alien doctor walked in. "What are you doing here so late, Dr. Hale?" The alien asked coldly. "Just checking on a patient," Mason replied calmly. "She's made some progress." The alien glanced at Zellari, uninterested, then at the case. "You were warned not to waste resources," he said. "This girl Is not a priority? Mason didn't answer. He simply nodded and walked out with the case in his hand. Zellari felt cold after he left. The lights seemed harsher. The silence louder. She folded her wings again, but this time she felt something. Deep inside anger and something even stronger. She wanted to prove them wrong. And more than anything, she wanted him to come back. Zellari waited the next night, heart pounding, but the human doctor didn't come. The hallway stayed quiet. The lights dimmed, and her room felt colder than ever before. She kept glancing toward the door, expecting it to open, but no one entered. Not even a nurse. Morning came, and still no sign of him. She didn't eat, didn't sleep. Her wings ached not from pain, but from the heavy silence pressing down on her. Then she overheard two medical workers whispering outside her door. They caught him using Earth Tech without clearance. One said, "The council is reviewing his license. They want to send him back to Earth." The other replied, "He's in trouble for breaking protocol." Zellari's chest tightened. She gripped the side of her bed. Her fingers trembled. They were punishing him for helping her. Later that day, a note appeared on her food tray, folded into a thin square and hidden under the dish. She opened it with shaking fingers. Tonight. After lights out, hallway C7M, her heart jumped. She read the note over and over, just to make sure it was real. That night, when the lights dimmed across the station, she slipped out of her room for the first time in weeks. Her steps were shaky, her wings dragging slightly. But she kept going. The hallway was quiet, empty, shadows stretching across the walls. She found Mason waiting near a supply door, his face tired but smiling. "You made it," he said, pulling her into the room quickly before the cameras spotted her. It wasn't a lab, just a storage closet filled with medical crates. But he had cleared a small space and set up one of his Earth devices. "I don't have much time," he said, "but I couldn't stop now. Not when you've come this far." She nodded, eyes shining. "I thought they sent you away," she whispered. "Not yet," he replied. "They gave me 2 days to pack, but they're watching everything, so we'll have to be careful." She sat on a crate while he applied the sensors again. His hands were gentle, but his movements quick. Every second mattered. "Lift your wings," he said. She tried. The muscles still weak, but stronger than before. They lifted half a foot, then dropped. "That's still improvement," he said. "I've seen worse recoveries on Earth, and they ended with full function." She gave him a faint smile, but it faded fast. "What happens after 2 days?" She asked, "Will you leave me here?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he sat beside her, elbows on his knees. "I want to take you with me," he said softly. "But Earth won't accept an unregistered alien citizen with no legal papers." "I don't want Earth," she said quietly. "I want you." He turned to her slowly, surprised. She wasn't sure why she said it out loud. Her cheeks burned, but she didn't take it back. "You believed in me when no one else did," she whispered. "You touched my wings without fear. You made me feel like I'm not broken." He looked at her for a long time, then gently took her hand in his. "You're not broken," he said. "You're the bravest person I've met in this galaxy." For a moment, they sat in silence, hands linked, machines humming beside them. Then, the door clicked. A warning light blinking red someone was coming. He quickly turned off the machine, helped her remove the pads, and pushed her gently behind a crate. The door opened, and a security guard peeked in. "Dr. Hale." The guard said, "You're not allowed to use equipment after hours." "I was just getting some supplies," Mason lied smoothly. "Didn't know there was a curfew here." The guard narrowed his eyes but nodded. "Don't make trouble," he warned, and left. Mason waited a full minute before moving again. "You need to go back to your room," he whispered. "We'll continue tomorrow night." Zellari nodded, but her eyes were full of fear. "What if they catch you again?" she asked. He smiled, brushing a loose strand of her hair away. "Then we'll make tomorrow count," he said, no matter what. That night, Zelari couldn't sleep. Not because of worry, but because of something stronger. A new feeling. Burning in her chest like fire. Not fear, not sadness, but something that made her heart beat fast and her wings flutter in the dark. Hope and love. The next day felt like a storm waiting to hit. The medical wing was too quiet. Every voice sounded careful, every footstep quick. Something had changed in the air. Something cold and tense. Zelari stayed in her room, pretending to sleep when nurses came by, but her mind was not resting. Her thoughts kept going back to Mason's words from last night. "We'll make tomorrow." Count, he had said. What did he mean? Was he planning something? Was he leaving without saying goodbye? Just before noon, a message blinked across her room screen. It wasn't from Mason, but from the council board notice for the human doctor. It read, "Final decision pending. Status suspended. Contact with unauthorized patients is prohibited." Her hands curled into fists. Her wings twitched with stress. They were cutting him off officially. That evening, when the lights dimmed again, Zelari waited. Dressed in the thin silver robe they gave her after the accident, she tied it tighter and slipped out into the hall. She took a different route this time, avoiding the main corridors. Her feet patted softly on the cold metal floor. Her heart thudded with each step. She reached the storage room and knocked once, then twice more. No answer. She knocked again, louder. The door slid open slowly, and Mason pulled her inside. His face was pale, lips tight, eyes tired. "They know I've been helping you," he said. Someone reported the equipment logs. "I'm being removed from the station in less than 12 hours. Her breath caught. "So that's it?" She asked. "You're leaving?" "I'm not leaving you without one last treatment," he said. Opening his case, "Tonight, we do everything." He pulled out a syringe, a vial glowing faint blue, and a set of wing support braces. She stared at the tools, her fear rising that serum-it's not approved here. She said quietly, "No," he replied, "but it works. I've used it on spinal recovery patients on Earth. It forces the nerves to wake up, but it's going to hurt." She swallowed hard, then nodded. "Do it." He worked fast, wiping her wings, injecting the serum in 3 spots. Her body trembled as soon as the liquid spread. Heat filled her spine, and her vision blurred. Then the pain hit. It felt like fire crawling inside her skin. Her wings spasmed violently. Her voice broke into a cry. Mason held her steady, both arms around her as she screamed into his coat. "It's all right," he whispered. "It's working. It's working." Minutes passed, long, brutal minutes. Then her wings stopped shaking. Her breathing slowed, and the fire inside calmed into a faint burn. "Try lifting them," he said, backing up gently. Zelari focused, her whole body sore. She closed her eyes, pulled in breath, and lifted. Her wings rose. Slow but steady, not an inch, not a foot but. Full extension. Mason stared in disbelief, then stepped back further. "Flapped once," he said. Voice shaking, she did. The sound echoed like thunder in the room. One flap, then another. Her body lifted half an inch from the ground before she dropped, again into his arms. They laughed, both shocked, both breathless. "You flew," he said, holding her tightly. "Even just a little you flew." Before she could answer, a loud alarm rang through the station. "Unauthorized access detected." They froze. "Go," Mason said, grabbing his case. "Back to your room now." She hesitated, her legs weak, but he pushed her gently toward the door. "I'll meet you again, no matter where they send me," he said. "I promise." She looked at him one last time, then ran, back through the shadows, past the quiet halls, into the cold silence of her room. Her wings burned, her body ached, but her heart felt like it was about to explode. Because for 1 second, just one, she had flown, and in that moment, she knew. She didn't just want to walk again, she wanted to fly to him. Zelari didn't sleep that night, not even for a moment. Her body was tired, her muscles sore, but her mind wouldn't stop. The feeling of her wings lifting. Even for a few seconds, it replayed in her head like a dream she never wanted to end. But the dream was fading fast. She woke early. Or maybe she never slept at all. The station lights came on slowly, and voices outside her room were louder than usual. She stood quietly by the wall, listening. "Doctor Hale has been removed from medical duty," one voice said. "They're escorting him to the transport dock in 2 hours." 2 hours? Her heart dropped. Her hands clenched. She felt the floor shift beneath her, as if the world was slipping away. She didn't have much time. A few minutes later, her door opened. A nurse stepped in with a meal tray, not looking at her. "Eat," the nurse said flatly, then walked out. Zelari didn't touch the food. She moved fast, pulling on a simple robe. Tying it tight, her wings were still sore. But she could feel power in them, now not full strength, but something real. She opened the vent panel behind her bed, the one she had stared at for weeks. It led into the old maintenance shaft's tiny, forgotten tunnels that twisted through. The walls of the station she climbed in, her hands shaking, her breath loud in the silence. It was dark, metal, cold under her skin. The path was tight, and her wings scraped the sides. But she didn't stop. She crawled for what felt like forever, until she saw light ahead, a metal grate above the docking bay. Through it, she saw him, Dr. Mason, stood near the station exit, his hands cuffed in front of him. 2 alien guards flanked him, their expressions cold and firm. His bag lay beside him on the floor, sealed shut. He looked tired, but not broken. He kept glancing around, like he hoped to see someone before he was taken away. Zelari felt a tear slide down her cheek. She pushed the grate gently, just enough to see clearly. The council official stepped forward, holding a document. "Dr. Hale," the official said, "you violated multiple codes of conduct. You are hereby expelled from the Verana Medical Division, effective immediately. You will return to Earth with no right to practice in our system." Mason didn't respond. He looked forward, jaw clenched, and the girl. One of the guards asked, "What happens to her?" "She remains here," the official said. "Her treatment is over. Let her accept her limits." Zelari's fingers curled around the grate. "Limits," she whispered to herself. "You want me to accept limits?" She pushed the grate harder. It clanged as it fell to the floor below. Everyone turned sharply. Then Zelari dropped through the hole. She landed hard, knees bending, wings shaking. Her breath came out in a gasp, but she stood tall. The guards pulled their weapons, but Mason stepped in front of her. "No," he said. "Don't touch her." The council official looked stunned. "You? How did you get out?" he demanded. Zelari's voice was soft, but steady. "I crawled through the walls to say one thing," she said. "I am not broken. I flew." The official shook his head. "That's not possible. Show them," Mason whispered to her. She nodded. Her heart pounded, her legs trembled, but she stepped back, spread her wings, and focused one flap. Then another. The wind pushed against the walls, and her body lifted just a few feet, but she hovered. Gasps filled the bay. She flew across the small room, wings shaky but steady, before landing gently near Mason. Silence. Then the council official turned red with embarrassment. This breaks protocol," he said. "She's unauthorized. She saved herself," Mason said firmly. "With my help, yes, but her courage did the rest." The guards didn't know what to do. Their weapons were lowered, confusion in their eyes. Then something strange happened. A technician stepped forward and clapped. Another followed, then more. Soon a group of medical staff were applauding. not because of rules, but because they had. Seen a miracle, the official turned away, his voice bitter. You both have 1 hour. Then you're off this station. Mason turned to her, his voice low. 1 hour, he said. Where do we go? She looked at him, her face full of something deeper than joy. Anywhere, she said, as long as it's with you. Asterisk, they didn't run. They didn't hide. Zellery and Mason walked through the station hand in hand, past the curious stares. And hushed whispers, past doctors who once ignored her, and guards who now stepped aside. The news of what happened at the dock spread faster than light. Security feeds showed a broken girl flying again. A human doctor risking everything for a disabled alien no one cared about by the time they reached the medical wing. The halls were full of silent eyes watching them pass. Mason kept his head high. His bag was slung over his shoulder. But his steps were calm, steady. Zellery walked beside him, her wings trembling but open. She felt the ache in every joint, but she held her back straight, her chin up, inside the lab. Mason pulled out the final treatment plan. He only had 1 dose left. The strongest version of the nerve serum. You don't have to take it now. He told her, there's a risk. You could faint. You could lose the progress we made. She didn't even blink. I trust you, she said. We started this together. Let's finish it the same way. He nodded and set up the station. One last time, the injection went straight into the wing joints, and the pain hit instantly. Zellery bit down on a cloth to keep from screaming. Her whole body shook. Mason supported her with one arm while checking her vitals with the other. You're all right, he whispered. Stay with me, just a little more. She gasped for air. Sweat on her forehead. Her fingers clenched the edge of the table. Then it stopped. A strange stillness filled her chest, like a bell that had finished ringing. She stood up slowly. Stretching her wings, they moved easily. No pain, no delay. Try it, Mason said gently. She took a deep breath, opened her wings fully, and flapped once. The floor disappeared beneath her. She rose higher than before, higher than she ever had since the accident. She floated in the middle of the lab, glowing in the soft blue lights, her wings steady, her body calm. Then she dropped gently to the floor and laughed. A real laugh, full and bright, the kind that made her eyes shine. You did it, Mason said. You're healed. No, she said, smiling at him. We did it. They had 20 minutes left before the station forced them out, but neither of them rushed. They walked to the shuttle bay slowly. Together, the same guards were there, but they didn't speak. One of them even gave a respectful nod as they passed. A new ship waited for them. A small Earth-class shuttle Mason had paid for with everything he had left. It wasn't fancy, but it would get them away. As they stepped inside, a voice called out from behind. It was the little nurse who had once served Zellery in silence. I saw the footage, she said. I didn't believe it until now. Zellery turned, unsure what to say. Fly well, the nurse whispered, her eyes watery. I'm sorry for how we treated you. Zellery nodded once, then turned away. The shuttle doors closed, the engines warmed. And for the first time in weeks, Mason exhaled fully. He looked at Zellery, sitting beside him, wings folded carefully. Where to now? He asked. She thought for a moment, then smiled. Anywhere with Sky, she said. And no one telling me what I can't do? He laughed. Adjusting the controls, I think I know just the place. He said, quiet, free, full of stars, as the shuttle pulled away from the station. They didn't look back. They didn't need to. They were already flying toward something new: freedom, healing, and maybe even love. Not as patient and doctor. Not as human and alien, but simply as two. People who believed in each other when no one else did. The shuttle moved through space like a quiet bird. Stars flowing past the windows like glitter in the dark. Inside the small cabin, Zellery sat beside Mason, her hands resting on her lap, her wings folded gently behind her. It had been 3 days. Since they left the station, 3 days of silence, healing, and breath. They hadn't spoken much, but they didn't need to. Sometimes Mason would catch her looking at her reflection in the window, watching her wings move slowly with the hum of the ship, like she still couldn't believe they were hers again. They landed on a small moon near the edge of the outer rings, a forgotten place full of green valleys, old forests, and wide skies. The place wasn't owned by anyone. No borders, no rules. Just quiet wind and space to live. Mason fixed up a simple home from an old supply pod, and Zellery explored the land with careful steps, slowly learning how to live again, not as a patient but as a person each day. She pushed herself to fly a little more. One morning, she climbed the rocky hill behind their shelter, wind brushing her hair, sun warm on her skin. Mason stood beside her, watching silently. "Are you ready?" he asked softly. She nodded. Her eyes were clear, focused, not scared anymore. She stepped forward, opened her wings, and jumped. This time, she didn't fall. She soared. Higher than ever before, strong, graceful. Her wings catching the air like sails, she dipped and spun, then glided back toward the hill where Mason waited. She landed without stumbling, laughing as her boots hit the ground. "I did it," she said, breathless. "You did." He smiled. "You really did." That night, they sat by the fire he built with scraps and stones. The stars above them blinked quietly. The wind soft in the trees. She turned to him, her voice calm, steady. "You didn't just heal my wings," she said. "You healed something deeper." Mason looked into her eyes, something heavy in his chest. "I only showed you what was already there," he said. "You're the one who fought." She smiled gently, then took his hand. "You stayed when no one else would. You believed in me," she said. "I think I fell in love with that before. I even knew what love was." He didn't speak at first. His hand gripped hers tightly. "I was afraid to feel that way," he admitted. "But somewhere between the injections and the laughter and your stubborn bravery, I did too." They sat close, nothing between them but warmth and truth. It wasn't about species anymore, or laws, or rules. It was about hearts. And how one broken girl and one stubborn human had found something whole together. Weeks passed. Seasons changed, and soon Zellery became something more than just healed. She became a teacher, helping injured flyers across nearby worlds, using Mason's techniques, her story spreading like stardust. Some called her a legend. Others called her the girl who beat the impossible, but Mason never called her that. To him, she was simply Zellery. The girl who once sat alone in a hospital room with broken wings, and now flew so high no one could catch her, not even gravity, and every time she returned to him, wind in her hair and a smile on her lips. He remembered why he risked everything, because some people are worth losing everything for, especially the ones who teach you how to fly, even if you never had wings.